All right, everybody, welcome in. Welcome to Wednesday. No, it's Thursday. Oh my gosh. It is Thursday, and today on the live at noon for Pathfinders, I am going to be discussing the topic of why some people have spiritual awakenings and others don't. That has been a question you guys have been asking me, I don't know, for 5 years. More recently, though, a lot more often. And we're going to dive into that topic on the live today at noon Eastern time. So if you want to jump on to Pathfinders, this is a particularly good time to do it. Let's see where we go. What is going on for you? Next week, the spiritual business class kicks off. So if you're wanting to start that business this fall, this is a particularly good time to jump onto that. Link is in the description box. Okay. Deep breath, everybody. Let's see. Great adventure. There's no doubt about that. I feel that coming. Great adventure. Watching clouds. Passion and pleasure. Savor your life. So something good is this way I come in. It does feel a little bit lighter. Okay, we've been dealing with some energies recently that have felt really struggly, like a struggle. And it's interesting because Libra does balance those out quite well, but we're heading into Scorpio time and we're heading into eclipse time, which I've been talking about. I talked about in the live yesterday, and you'll see more about that, about the eclipses coming this fall. Eclipse time is an activating time. So I've also talked to quite a lot of people who have felt very stuck. And if you look back at my readings over the course of the summer, you're going to see a lot of reference to stuck energy. And I feel like what's coming is going to be all of a sudden and whoosh, all of a sudden, it's sort of like waiting, and then you're just whisked into a new place. Okay, so it's okay if you have felt stuck over this summer. Okay, enough shuffling, right? Yes, thank you. If you've been stuck over the summer, I feel like that's coming to an end. 7 of Wands underneath, the energy of standing up for yourself. 10 of Pentacles, Sun, Page of Wands, Strength, lots of Leo energy here. 6 of Swords, 5 of Wands, 9 of Swords, 4 of Wands, and the Wheel of Fortune. I can't leave that there. Okay, 4 of Cups. So if you've been waiting for your October reading for each individual zodiac, the plan is to post them on Friday at noon, tomorrow at noon. So you'll see that. If you're wondering about your particular thing, Leo is loud here. Leo and Sag and Pisces. I feel like what brought you happiness at one point has flipped. I don't know that there's such thing as too much of a good thing, but there's definitely an out of balance, right? Like chocolate ice cream is awesome, but if you eat it every single day, every single meal, then it's like yuck, right? So I think that's what's happening here, is that the thing that once was thought of as positive or good, put your adjective, is now kind of flipping into a too much category. And by too much I mean it's like become a shadow. So like the chocolate ice cream episode example. So once was thought of as a yummy treat, now is like, okay, enough with that. And there are people who don't want to change that, who want to keep on eating chocolate ice cream, or want you to keep on eating chocolate ice cream, even though there are some new things on the way. The Sun and the Page of Wands is very beautiful energy. Moving from strength, taking action from strength is a beautiful energy. But I get the sense that there are people in the way. Okay, there are people or situations that are blocking the path. And it's because they are somehow they own stock in chocolate ice cream. And so if you stop eating chocolate ice cream, regardless of how unhealthy it is for you, they will suffer for that. They will have some kind of reversal. It's super selfish energy. Okay? This is selfish energy. This is like, I want somebody else to do a thing. I don't care how it impacts them. I just want them to keep doing it so I can keep being where I am. And I don't think that that is a very good or positive. That means to me that the intention is a negative one. The intention of continuing to keep people in a situation without power or without movement. Excuse me. So that's kind of a global thing. But in terms of a personal thing, if you keep doing a thing to placate someone or to keep the peace, all right? This was one of my mom's things about peace at any cost. And I do recall several times saying to her, I don't know that you've looked at the cost enough of the peace, keeping the peace. I don't think you've looked at the fallout of that and what that means. If you want to keep the peace at any cost, look at the cost, because the cost is significant. And the cost is getting bigger to holding on to a fantasy or a lie or a way of doing things that's time has passed. Okay? You know, we in the middle of the century, last century, electricity, public transport, you know, all of these inventions. And we are right now moving, we have Saturn Uranus square continuing to plague our lives. But what it's saying to us is Saturn is the old and Uranus is the new. And they continually rub up against each other. And so when we're looking at the choice, it doesn't seem like such an awful thing to stay in the old. And it seems a little scary to go to the new because we're not sure how that plays out, which check out my ancestor reading yesterday. That was a big topic of that. Like, what's on the other side of this? And it doesn't seem like that big a deal. But so I'll use a ridiculous example. So in, 1920, 100 years ago, electricity coming in, modern inventions for the kitchen, modern inventions for the home. The 20s through the 1950s, right? We really had an influx of a lot of new inventions. And in the 1920s, if you were kind of resistant to having electricity in your kitchen, let's say, well, maybe it wouldn't be that big a deal. Like, a lot of people don't have electricity in their kitchens in the 1920s. And so, I want to stay with what I'm comfortable. Fast forward 100 years. If you do not have electricity in your kitchen, you have been left behind. There's a whole range of conveniences. There's a whole range of ways of cooking that you might have missed if you're a big fan of being a chef or anything like that. There's a whole time factor, right? If you have to stoke the fire and create a way of cooking that takes hours and hours to do, the modern life where we are sped up, for better or for worse. There are things that would need to be not embraced then. If I'm spending, and this is I'm going to say this because it did happen in, when was this? I can't remember what year it was. But we had a big, I was living in New England in Connecticut, and there was a big ice storm. And we didn't have power in my town for about 20 days. And in the first couple days, like when you don't have power, when a storm comes through and you don't have power, there's coping, right? You could have prepared for that, you prepared for it, and you got yourself to a place where you could, weather that storm. But 20 days is now it's changing your daily routine. I recall about day 10 waking up and thinking about, okay, I need fire, I need water, I need gasoline, like the most basic level of, not conveniences, because they weren't conveniences, but the most basic level of keeping my life going, right? I needed fire for cooking, I need for heat, I needed water to be able to shower and be able to, right? So I woke up thinking about these basic things. And a big chunk of the day was taken up with trying to get those things. Modern life has, for better for worse, has created a situation where I'm not waking up in the morning thinking about how am I going to cook my dinner. I'm not waking up in the morning thinking, how far do I have to drive for gasoline? Very, very fortunate. There are plenty of people in this world who do, who have those kind of, days and months and years and lifetimes where they are at that place where that's where creating some kind of support for my daily living is the moment that they wake up. That's what they're thinking about, is how to feed my children and how to keep myself warm. And those things do occur. So what's being asked about here is we're now moving from where we are to something else. So it's not about electricity or about gasoline necessarily, or about water. It may be in the future. But what's being asked of us now is a more spiritual kind of leveling up, a way of being in life that is a different way than we've been in life. And I feel like it's not about those kinds of things, about firewood or water or any of that stuff. Those fights will continue and those fights may intensify. But what's being asked of us now is to create community, because that's what we did in those 20 days. We relied upon each other. I was in charge of heat. My other friend was in charge of water. My other friend was in charge of gasoline. My other friend was, right? We had these, it's like a division of labor. Very, very much like it was a long time ago when we were living more communally. And now I feel like what's happening is we are being asked to level up spiritually about what we believe and how we create life. We're being asked to move into an energetic realm where we can manifest on a quantum plane instantly. We can create our lives the way we want to have our lives and not be in situations where it's dog eat dog. We're letting go of that. All right. I feel like there is going to come a time here when we are being asked about what's most important to us. Love. And I don't just mean romantic love or anything. What I'm talking about is a love of humanity, a love of other people, a love of ourselves, a love of connection. And not being so separated and not seeing ourselves as separate individuals. As in one, it is in the whole. So if there is hate and anger and frustration in one of us, it is in us as a collective. The collective is becoming toxic with hatred and with other kinds of divisions. And those are the things that are getting purged right now. And that is what is showing up as a way. It has been separating people, right? Keeping us in separation as a collective. And if you're asking about union, if you're asking about twin flame, we are talking about purging these things that keep us separate, these illusions that keep us separate. We're purging them. And that means we are one. Union. We are one. And so when you hate another person, you hate yourself. When you create difficulty for another person, you create difficulty for yourself. And energetically, this is now speeding up. And people who like to keep people separate and want to organize them into categories and all of this kind of nonsense is going to become much, much harder on them. And in effect, much, much harder on us because we are all one. So that kind of stuff needs to be purged. It cannot be part of the collective. If love is the guiding principle, then there is no you and me, them and us. If love is the guiding principle, there is only we. There is only us. And, you know, I feel like sometimes we talk about there can only be day with night. There can only be light with dark. And so there, forever and ever, and this has been something I've thought about for quite a long time, forever and ever, there is going to be a them who doesn't want to be a we, who doesn't want to be us. And that will just be the way it is. Because this is a 3D life. But shifting into a quantum type of experience, I think there is going to be this sense of loss, this sense of, you know, you can't bring everybody along if they don't want to come. It's their choice. It's their choice. And if love is the answer, if we are all inclusive, if we understand each other, no matter the wrapping we're in, that at the core of us is a humanity, a love, that's the thing that ties us. This kind of wrapping has been meant for centuries as lessons for us. The 3D wrapping is about lessons and school and learning. The 5D of us doesn't care about that. There isn't that. There isn't that at all. That's man-made. That we even see it is man-made. So while tradition may fade, and together, I like this, that together we do move on, 6 of Swords, we becoming much more powerful. There are people who are going to try to stand in your way. There are people who don't understand what love really is. But, you know, we grieve for their loss and we move on. Because there are people who are going to sit on this hill and pout and not want to be, you know, there's plenty of people. I talked about this, and I'm going to talk about this, about why some people have spiritual awakening and some don't. And those who are in spiritual awakening are going to not see a them and an us. And that's good for those who reject it, because they will be welcomed with open arms no matter what. The compassion will flow. And that's where we're going. So let me ask about this 5 of Wands. King of Wands, 4 of Pentacles, Ace of Cups. Come here. And the Death card. Okay, you want to come to 2 of Pentacles. Okay. So for the probably, I'm going to say to you, it does feel to me like, yes, we take action toward this sort of collective, the collective that is built on love. And we allow others who decide to stay others to live in their arena, whatever that is, and we wistfully and blissfully do kind of move on. There is going to be a dipping back and forth, because there are a lot of people in the camp of I'm resistant to all spiritual awakening, I'm resistant to communal connection, I'm resistant to shifting into the power of my gifts, I'm resistant to doing any of that. We still do love. We still do love. And in this lifetime, we are going to be dipping back and forth, because there will be a significant number of people who, because of their soul contract, are playing the role of resistor. Resistant to love, resistant to, no matter what the wrapping is, at the core is love. There are people resistant to that. And the folks who embrace love still love folks who maybe hate them. Talk to Jesus about that. He knew. All right, so the resistant cards in this reading, the Seven of Wands, the Five of Wands, the Nine of Swords, Four of Cups, super small potatoes. It's almost going to feel a little bit like not a fair fight. Okay, not a fair fight. And that's why those of compassionate nature will allow. And let it be. Let it exist. Let that exist without it infecting the new collective. The new collective that is not about any 3D wrapping that we have. It's about something completely different. It's about a cosmic connection. It is about a quantum plane. These concerns that we have about finding fire and light and heat and all of those things won't be a thing. It's not a thing. We manifest like that. On a quantum plane, here we are. All set. The energy of that recognition that manifesting does not require a lot of grudging time and effort and 3D lower vibration stuff. Do we still have bodies? We sure do. But the way we take care of them, the way we nurture them, the way we nurture each other, that's the shift. Okay? So Nine of Swords here. Magician, Five of Swords, Three of Pentacles, and the Two of Wands. I just feel like the collective is going to become more loud, powerful, bigger, where these resistant elements are going to be, I don't know, pitied, kind of like, aw, you know what I mean? Not seen as dangerous. I mean, they're not really embracing any kind of gifts that they have. It's going to be kind of like, aw, really? A little bit sad to me. A little bit like, not pathetic. Not really. I mean, it's just going to be a little more like, that's a shame. And some may eventually see that it's not to their liking. I feel like there's going to be a significant amount of late adopters. When the shift takes place, there's going to be a significant amount of late adopters where they're like, oh, okay, I get it. I realize I've been resisting and fighting my own spiritual gifts, my own spiritual awakening. I've been resisting it because I think the 3D life has more to offer me. And when it becomes obvious that that's not true, the late adopters will show up. And we welcome you with open arms. All right, so let's see where we're going with this. I'm going to continue on with this reading. This is the morning message. There's a link below if you want to continue with me. Pathfinders, let's just keep on going and see where we go. All right, I hope you enjoyed that video. If it was helpful to you, please consider liking this video and sharing it with anybody who might have a need for similar kind of information. And if you like this video, check out these videos.